The moment my wife Kendra said those words at our backyard BBQ, I knew our marriage was over. Not because she hurt my feelings. Hell, I'd grown thick skin after 12 years with her. No, it was because she just handed me the keys to her own destruction. "You're so predictable, Brady. That's why I'm bored," she announced to our dinner guests, her voice dripping with theatrical disdain. The patio erupted in nervous laughter. Paige, her Instagram-obsessed best friend, nearly choked on her wine. Haley, the enabler, giggled like a schoolgirl. Even Colin, Wade's gym buddy, smirked behind his beer. I sat there, fork halfway to my mouth, watching my wife perform for her audience. The string lights I'd hung last weekend cast dramatic shadows across her face as she leaned forward, clearly enjoying the spotlight. "I mean, seriously," she continued, gesturing wildly with her wine glass. "Every morning, same coffee, same work clothes covered in dust and coolant. Every night, same routine. Shower, beer, TV. Even in bed, it's like he's following a manual. Insert tab A into slot B. Zero creativity, zero passion." More laughter. Paige was practically falling off her chair, typing furiously on her phone, probably live tweeting my humiliation. I could see the hashtags now. Boring husband dead bedroom, predictable Brady. That's when she dropped the bomb. "Maybe we should try an open marriage," Kendra said, her eyes gleaming with mischief. "You know, spice things up, give each other some freedom." The table went silent. You could hear the ice clinking in Colin's drink. Haley's mouth hung open like a fish. Paige's phone froze mid-type. Everyone waited for my reaction. The humiliated husband, the predictable bore, the man who'd just been publicly castrated by his own wife. I smiled. "You know what, Kendra? You're absolutely right." I set down my fork and looked directly at her. Her confident smirk faltered slightly. "I am predictable and boring and apparently terrible in bed." I chuckled, genuinely amused. "So yes, let's do it. Open marriage it is." I raised my water glass in a mock toast. To freedom and unpredictability. The silence stretched like taffy. Kendra's face cycled through confusion, suspicion, then back to triumphant glee. She'd expected a fight, tears, maybe me storming out. Instead, I'd agreed in front of witnesses. What she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that our prenup had a very specific clause about infidelity. A clause I'd insisted on after her first emotional affair 5 years ago. A clause that would trigger if either of us pursued other relationships while married. And thanks to my predictably paranoid nature, every gathering at our house was recorded by our Ring doorbell system. Audio and video, crystal clear. She had just confessed to wanting an affair, suggested opening our marriage, and I'd agreed, all on record with witnesses. Game on, honey. "Well," Kendra said, her voice slightly shaky but trying to maintain control, "I'm glad we're finally on the same page." "Oh, we're definitely on the same page now," I replied, still smiling. "This should be very interesting." After dinner, as our guests filtered out with awkward goodbyes and sideways glances, Kendra cornered me in the kitchen. "What the hell was that about?" she hissed, her mask finally slipping. "What do you mean?" I asked innocently, loading dishes into the dishwasher with methodical precision. "You wanted an open marriage. I agreed. Isn't this what you wanted?" Yes, but..." She struggled for words. "You're not supposed to be okay with it." "Why not? You made some excellent points. I am predictable. I am boring. Maybe we both need to explore other options." Her eyes narrowed. "You're planning something." "Me? Planning something?" I laughed. "Kendra, you just told everyone I'm too predictable to plan a grocery list, let alone some elaborate scheme. Give me some credit for consistency." That night, as Kendra texted frantically with her girlfriends, probably planning her next move, I sat in my home office reviewing our prenuptial agreement. Article 7, Section 3. In the event either party engages in extramarital relationships, whether physical or emotional, said party forfeits all claims to joint assets, custody considerations, and spousal support. My lawyer had been thorough, very thorough. I opened my laptop and began typing an email to my attorney, Preston Martinez. "Preston, I need to discuss Article 7, Section 3 of the Torres prenuptial agreement. Recent developments suggest we may need to prepare for enforcement. Please review the attached audio file from tonight's BBQ and advise on next steps. I attached the Ring doorbell footage from dinner, highlighting the relevant timestamps. Kendra's confession, her suggestion of an open marriage, my agreement, all captured in high definition. As I hit send, I heard Kendra's phone, buzzing constantly from the bedroom, probably coordinating with her trainer, Shane. I'd seen the way they looked at each other at the gym, the lingering touches during her personal training sessions, the convenient schedule changes that aligned perfectly with my service calls in Scottsdale. Poor Kendra thought she was so clever, so subtle. She had no idea that her predictable husband had been 3 steps ahead for months. My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend Colin. "Dude, what the hell happened tonight? Paige already posted about it on Instagram." I typed back, "Just agreeing to give my wife what she wants. Should be educational." "You're scaring me, man. You sound too calm." "Don't worry," I replied. "I'm being very predictable." 3 days after the BBQ, Kendra made her move. I was in my shop when I heard her car pull into the driveway at 2 p.m. Unusual since she claimed to have yoga classes all afternoon. Through my workshop window, I watched her. Practically skipped to the front door, phone pressed to her ear. "No, he was totally fine with it," she was saying loud enough for me to hear. "I think he's actually relieved, probably planning to download some dating apps himself, the loser." She burst through the front door, still on the phone. I recognized Paige's screechy voice on the other end. "I'm telling you, Paige, this is perfect. I get to have fun with Shane, and when Brady inevitably screws up or gets jealous, I'll be the victim. Win-win." I saved my work and walked inside. Kendra was in the kitchen, having moved a speakerphone while she rummaged through the refrigerator. "Oh, and get this," she continued to Paige. "Haley found out some dirt on Brady's business. Apparently his HVAC company is barely breaking even. When we divorce, I'll probably get the house and alimony just to keep me afloat." That was news to me, considering my company had its most profitable quarter last month. But Haley's ex-husband worked at a competing firm, so her inside information was probably wishful thinking, mixed with corporate espionage. "Hey, honey," I said, entering the kitchen. "How were your yoga classes?" Kendra jumped, nearly dropping her phone. "Oh, they were fine. Great, actually. Sold the Henderson membership package." "That's wonderful. I thought the Hendersons signed up last month." A flash of panic crossed her face. "I meant the other Hendersons. Different people." "Ah, of course. Silly me." I opened the refrigerator and grabbed a beer. "By the way, I took your advice about being less predictable. I signed up for a few dating apps. Hope that's okay." The lie rolled off my tongue smoothly. I hadn't signed up for anything, but I wanted to see her reaction. "Oh," she said, trying to sound nonchalant. "That's great. Good for you." But I caught the flicker of something in her eyes. Not jealousy, calculation. She was already planning how to use my supposed dating against me. "I should probably head to the gym," she said, grabbing her workout bag. "Shane's helping me with a new routine." "I'm sure he is. Give him my regards." After she left, I called my private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop named Tanner Rodriguez, who specialized in matrimonial cases. "Tanner, it's Brady Torres. I need you to start surveillance on my wife. Full documentation. Photos, video, witness statements if possible." "Starting when?" "She just left for Lifetime Fitness in Scottsdale. Blonde hair, white BMW, license plate starts with Yoga Swan. She'll probably be there for about 2 hours, but I doubt she'll be exercising the whole time." "Got it. What's the end game here?" "Enforcement of a prenuptial agreement. I need ironclad evidence of infidelity." "Consider it done." That evening, Kendra returned home, glowing with post-workout endorphins and something else. Her hair was messed despite being in a ponytail, her lipstick was smudged, and she had that satisfied look I hadn't seen in years. "Good workout?" I asked from the couch where I was watching the Suns game. "Amazing! Shane really knows how to push me to my limits." "I bet he does." She disappeared upstairs for a long shower while I reviewed Tanner's preliminary report, which had arrived via encrypted email. Photos of Kendra and Shane in the gym parking lot, engaged in what could generously be called intimate conversation. More photos of them entering a Starbucks together, sitting very close, his hand on her thigh. The money shot was a video of them making out against her BMW before she drove away. Tanner had even managed to get audio. "I can't wait until we don't have to sneak around anymore," Shane was saying. "Soon," Kendra replied. "Very soon." I forwarded everything to Preston with a note. Phase 1 complete. Please prepare preliminary divorce papers, but hold off on filing. I want to see how far this goes. Over the next week, Kendra grew bolder. She started working late, going to more client dinners, and taking weekend yoga retreats that required overnight stays. Her phone was constantly buzzing with texts that made her smile in ways I hadn't seen in years. Meanwhile, I played the part of the oblivious husband. I asked how her retreats went, complimented her new workout clothes, even suggested she invite Shane over for dinner sometime. "That's sweet of you," she said, clearly confused by my continued cooperation. "But I don't think that's appropriate." "Why not? He's your trainer. I'd love to meet the guy who's making such a positive difference in your life." She couldn't argue with that logic without revealing the true nature of their relationship. My daughters Riley and Quinn were spending the week with my parents in Tucson, a convenient arrangement that Kendra had suggested, claiming she needed space to figure things out. What she really needed was freedom to carry on her affair without worrying about the kids walking in on something. On Friday night, Tanner called with an update. "Your wife and her boyfriend just checked into the Phoenician Resort, room 847. They're registered under his name, but she's definitely there. Want me to get closer?" "No, photos from the lobby are sufficient. Just document the timeline." "Will do." "Oh, and Brady, you might want to know that this guy's got a reputation. I did some background checking. He's been through 3 gym jobs in 2 years, always leaving under mysterious circumstances involving married clients." "Interesting. Send me everything you've got on him." "Already in your inbox." I spent the evening reading Shane's file. Shane Coleman, 29, originally from Tucson, dropped out of ASU, bounced around various fitness jobs, had a pattern of targeting wealthy married women, 2 restraining orders from previous affairs gone wrong, 1 bankruptcy, and a DUI from last year. My wife certainly knew how to pick them. Saturday morning, Kendra returned home with elaborate stories about her yoga retreat. She'd learned so much, met so many interesting people, made valuable connections for future classes. "That's wonderful, honey," I said, handing her a cup of coffee. "You seem really energized." "I am. I feel like I'm finally becoming the person I was meant to be." "I'm happy for you. We should celebrate. How about dinner at Romano's tonight, our anniversary spot?" She looked confused. "Our anniversary isn't for 3 months." "I know, but I thought we could celebrate your new beginning, your journey of self-discovery." Something in my tone made her pause, but she couldn't quite identify what. "That's thoughtful, but I'm exhausted from the retreat." "Rain check?" "Of course, maybe next week." That afternoon, while Kendra napped upstairs, apparently retreats were exhausting, I received a call from Colin. "Brady, what the hell is going on? I just saw Kendra's Instagram story from last night. She was at some fancy restaurant downtown, but she told you she was at a retreat, right?" I pulled up her Instagram. Sure enough, there was a photo of an expensive dinner for 2, wine glasses, candlelight. The caption read, "Sometimes you need to treat yourself. Self-care, new beginnings, living my best life." "Looks like she had a good time," I said calmly. "Dude, that's clearly a romantic dinner. Are you seeing this?" "I see it, and you're okay with this?" "Colin, she asked for an open marriage. I agreed. This is what that looks like. But nothing. She's exploring her options. I'm being supportive." "You're being weird, man. This isn't like you." "Maybe that's the problem. Maybe I've been too predictable." After I hung up, I sat in my office staring at Kendra's Instagram post. She was documenting her own affair, creating a public record of her infidelity. It was almost too easy. My phone buzzed with a text from Tanner. "They're back at the gym. Want me to continue surveillance?" "Yes," I typed back. "And Tanner, start documenting everything she posts on social media. Screenshot everything." "Already on it. This lady's making our job very easy." That evening, as Kendra got ready for another girls' night out, I made my own plans. It was time to start phase 2 of my predictable response to her unpredictable behavior. Monday morning brought the first real test of my patience. I was making breakfast when Kendra sauntered into the kitchen wearing a new dress I'd never seen before. Tight, expensive, and completely inappropriate for teaching yoga classes. "New dress?" I asked, flipping pancakes with methodical precision. "Oh, this old thing? I've had it forever." She poured herself coffee, avoiding eye contact. "I have a big client meeting today. The Johnsons are finally ready to sign up for private sessions. The Johnsons had started private sessions 2 weeks ago. I knew because their neighbor was a customer of mine, and we discussed it, but I just nodded and smiled. "That's great, honey. I hope it goes well." She grabbed a piece of toast and headed for the door. "I might be late tonight. These high-end clients like to take their time." "Of course they do." After she left, I called Tanner. "She's heading out in the BMW, same routine as yesterday, most likely. I'll pick up the trail at the gym. Brady, today I want to get creative. I need evidence that goes beyond just photos. Can you get close enough to record conversations?" "Depends on the location, but probably. What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking my wife is about to make a very big mistake, and I want it documented from every possible angle." At 10 a.m., Tanner sent me the first update. Target and subject are at a Starbucks on Camelback. Very public, very obvious. She's showing him something on her phone. Looks like real estate listings. Interesting. I called my friend, Lance Patterson, who worked at the title company Kendra used for most of her business. "Lance, it's Brady. Quick question. Has Kendra been looking at any properties for herself lately? Investment properties, maybe?" "Funny you should ask. She was in here last week asking about putting a property in her name only. Said it was for tax purposes. Something about keeping business assets separate from personal ones." My blood went cold. She was planning to hide assets, setting up for a divorce where she could claim poverty while secretly owning property. Which property? That new condo development in Old Town Scottsdale, prime real estate. She put an offer in under her maiden name. After I hung up, I sat in my office, pieces of the puzzle clicking into place. Kendra wasn't just having an affair, she was planning to clean me out. The open marriage suggestion wasn't about freedom or excitement. It was about setting me up to look like the unfaithful spouse while she positioned herself as the victim. She'd probably been planning this for months, maybe years. The timing of her affair, the public humiliation at the BBQ, even sending the kids away. It was all calculated to make me look like the bad guy who abandoned his family for other women. Too bad for her. I was 3 steps ahead. I called Preston. "I need you to freeze all joint accounts immediately. Legal hold pending divorce proceedings." "Are you sure you want to move that fast? Once we do this, there's no going back." "I'm sure. Also, I need you to investigate any property purchases my wife has made in the last 6 months. Check her maiden name, Kendra Walsh." "I'll get right on it." At noon, Tanner called with an update that made my day. "You're not going to believe this? They're at a furniture store in Scottsdale. She's picking out bedroom furniture and telling the salesperson it's for her new place. He's with her, acting like they're a couple. I got it all on. Video. Please tell me you got audio." "Even better, I was pretending to shop for a couch nearby," she told him, and I quote, "Once the divorce is final, we can stop sneaking around. Brady won't know what hit him." Beautiful. Keep following them. Oh, it gets better. They're planning to meet her friends for lunch at that trendy place on Scottsdale Road. Looks like she's introducing him to the inner circle. This was perfect. The more public she made their relationship, the stronger my case became. At 2 p.m., my phone rang. It was Kendra. "Hey, honey," she said, her voice artificially sweet. "My client meeting ran long, and now the Johnsons want to see 3 more studios this afternoon. I'll probably be home really late." "No problem. Take your time." "You're being awfully understanding about all this." "What do you mean?" "I don't know. Most husbands would be upset about their wives working so much, being gone so often." "Kendra, you asked for space to figure things out. I'm giving you space. Isn't that what you wanted?" A pause. "Yes, it is. I guess I expected more of a fight. Maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe I've been too controlling, too demanding of your time. This new arrangement is good for both of us, right?" "Right. Yes, it is good." But she sounded uncertain, like my cooperation was throwing off her script. After we hung up, I got back to work. I had a business to run after all. And despite Haley's misinformation, it was thriving. In fact, I'd just landed a major contract with a chain of resorts that needed complete HVAC overhauls. At 4 p.m., Tanner sent me a photo that made me laugh out loud. Kendra and Shane were at an upscale restaurant having what was clearly a romantic lunch with Paige and Haley. But here's what made it perfect. Paige was taking photos of the happy couple and posting them on Instagram in real time. I screenshot every single post. Paige had tagged the location, the restaurant, even tagged Shane in several photos. She was creating a digital timeline of their affair, complete with timestamps and GPS coordinates. My wife's best friend was building my divorce case for me, one Instagram post at a time. At 6 p.m., I decided to have some fun. I drove to the restaurant where they were still having their extended business lunch and walked in like I was meeting a client. The hostess seated me at a table with a perfect view of their booth. Kendra had her back to me, but I could see Shane clearly, and he could see me. When our eyes met across the restaurant, his face went white. I smiled and waved. Shane leaned over and whispered something to Kendra. She turned around, saw me, and nearly knocked over her wine glass. I pulled out my phone and called her. "Hey, honey," I said when she answered. "I'm at Romano's having dinner with a potential client. Where did you say you were showing studios today?" "We're the Johnsons. Wanted to grab a bite after looking at properties." "That's nice. Which Johnsons are you with? I thought you said they were the tall couple with the twin boys." Through the restaurant, I watched her panic. The Johnsons she'd mentioned earlier were indeed tall with twin boys, but she was sitting with 3 adults and no children. "Actually, these are different Johnsons. The short Johnsons. No kids." "I see. Well, enjoy your dinner. I should get back to my client." I hung up and watched as she frantically whispered to her table. Shane looked like he wanted to crawl under the booth. Paige and Haley were looking around nervously, probably realizing they had been caught in the lie. I finished my dinner slowly, making sure to stay visible. Every few minutes I'd glance over and wave. By the time I left, their entire table looked like they were attending a funeral. That night, Kendra came home in a mood I'd never seen before, confused, angry, and slightly scared. "What were you doing at Romano's tonight?" she demanded. "Having dinner with a client. What were you doing there?" "I told you, I was with the Johnsons." "Right, the short Johnsons with no kids. They seem nice. Although the woman looked a lot like Paige, and the man looked remarkably similar to that trainer from your gym." She stared at me for a long moment. "Are you having me followed?" "Why would I have you followed? We have an open marriage, remember? You're free to have dinner with whoever you want." "Then why did you show up at the same restaurant?" "Coincidence. Although, if I were having you followed, I suppose I'd know that you've been to that same restaurant 4 times in the past 2 weeks. But since we're being open and honest with each other, I'm sure you would have mentioned that." The color drained from her face. She was realizing that her predictable husband might not be as clueless as she'd thought. "I'm going to bed," she said quietly. "Good night, honey. Sweet dreams." As she headed upstairs, my phone buzzed with a text from Tanner. "Got everything from today. This lady's digging her own grave. How much more do you need?" I typed back, "Keep going. I want this to be absolutely bulletproof." "Roger that." "Oh, and Brady, your wife's boyfriend looked like he was about to puke when he saw you tonight. I think he's starting to figure out that this isn't going to end well for him." I smiled as I turned off the lights. Tomorrow was going to be very interesting. The next morning, I woke up to find Kendra already gone. No note, no text, no explanation. Her side of the bed looked like she'd barely slept, and I could hear her car pulling out of the driveway at 6 a.m. I made coffee and checked my phone. 3 missed calls from Colin, 2 from my lawyer, and a string of text messages from Tanner that made me sit up straight. Emergency meeting at 7 a.m. Something big happened. Coffee shop on Mill Avenue. I threw on clothes and drove to meet Tanner, my mind racing through possibilities. Had Kendra figured out she was being followed? Had Shane done something stupid? Had they run off together? Tanner was waiting in a corner booth, looking grim. "What's the situation?" I asked, sliding into the seat across from him. "Your wife met with a divorce attorney yesterday afternoon. After you left the restaurant, she drove straight to the law offices of Peterson Blake and Associates." My coffee cup stopped halfway to my mouth. "She's filing for divorce." "It gets worse. I managed to get some intel from a contact at the firm. She's claiming you've been abusive, controlling, and that you've threatened her if she tries to leave. That's insane. I've never laid a hand on her. I know that, and you know that. But she's building a narrative, the open marriage thing. She's going to claim you forced her into it as a form of psychological abuse. She's saying you told her she was worthless and that no one else would want her." I stared at Tanner, pieces clicking into place. "She's trying to flip the script." "Exactly. She wants to file first, claim abuse, and paint herself as the victim. Her affair becomes seeking comfort from an abusive marriage, and your cooperation becomes evidence of controlling behavior. What about all our evidence? The recordings, the photos, her own social media posts? That's where it gets interesting. She's claiming the BBQ was you humiliating her in front of friends, and that you've been stalking her since then. I felt a cold rage building in my chest. After everything I'd done to be reasonable, to give her the space she asked for, she was going to try to destroy me. Tanner, I need you to accelerate everything. Get me a complete dossier on Shane. Finances, background, everything. And I want surveillance on both of them, 24/7. Already on it. But, Brady, there's something else. My contact says she's planning to file a restraining order today. She's going to claim you've been threatening her and her friends. Threatening them how? Showing up at the restaurant last night. She's calling it stalking and intimidation. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. So, having dinner at a public restaurant is now stalking? In her version of events, yes. She's also claiming you've been monitoring her phone and following her. Have we been monitoring her phone? No, just public surveillance and social media. All legal. Good. Let her file her restraining order. I'll file my own paperwork today. I called Preston from the parking lot. I need to file for divorce immediately, and I need to beat my wife to the courthouse. What's the rush? She's planning to file today with abuse allegations. I need to establish the real timeline first. I can have papers ready in 2 hours. Meet me at my office. I'll be there. As I drove to Preston's office, my phone rang. It was Kendra. Brady, we need to talk. Of course. What's on your mind? I think this open marriage thing was a mistake. I think we should try counseling instead. Really? What changed your mind? I miss us. I miss what we had. That's interesting timing, considering you spent yesterday afternoon with a divorce attorney. Silence. Then, I don't know what you're talking about. Peterson, Blake, and Associates. You were there from 3:30 to 5:15 p.m., right after our coincidental meeting at Romano's. Have you been following me? I don't need to follow you, Kendra. You've been posting your entire affair on social media. Paige has been documenting your relationship with Shane for weeks. You've been about as subtle as a neon sign. Another long pause. I want to come home and talk about this. That's probably not a good idea. Why not? It's my house too. Actually, according to our prenuptial agreement, which you triggered when you asked for an open marriage and then immediately began an extramarital relationship, it's not your house anymore. You can't be serious. I'm always serious, Kendra. You said so yourself. I'm predictable that way. Brady, please, let's just talk about this like adults. We are talking. I'm talking to you right now. I mean, in person, face to face. I don't think that's wise, especially since you're planning to file a restraining order claiming I've been threatening you. The silence stretched so long, I thought she'd hung up. Who told you that? She finally whispered. Does it matter? The point is, you've made your choice. You wanted unpredictable? Congratulations. You got it. I hung up and walked into Preston's office. 2 hours later, I walked out with divorce papers, a counter-restraining order, and a motion to freeze all assets pending resolution. Preston had worked fast and efficiently, using every piece of evidence Tanner had gathered. The beauty of this, Preston explained, is that she's been documenting her own infidelity. Every Instagram post, every public appearance with this Shane character, every lie she's told, it's all evidence of her breach of the prenuptial agreement. What about her abuse allegations? Harder to prove than she thinks. You've been cooperative, supportive, even encouraging of her self-discovery. The recordings from your BBQ show her humiliating you, not the other way around. And showing up at a restaurant where she happened to be eating isn't stalking. It's coincidence. When do we serve her? This afternoon. I'm having her served at the gym where she'll be meeting her boyfriend. Maximum impact, minimum privacy. At 3 p.m., Tanner called with an update. Papers have been served. You should have seen her face. She was on the treadmill next to Shane when the process server walked up. Half the gym watched her get handed divorce papers. How did Shane react? Like a deer in headlights. I think reality just hit him that he's been sleeping with a married woman who's about to lose everything in a divorce. Where are they now? Parking lot. She's crying. He's pacing. And they're having what looks like a pretty heated argument. Can you get audio? Working on it. Okay, got some. She's telling him this isn't how it was supposed to happen. He's asking if she's really going to lose the house. She's saying her lawyer promised her she'd get half of everything. And now she's realizing that her lawyer didn't know about the prenup clause. Shane's asking if this means she'll be broke. Oh, this is interesting. She just slapped him. She slapped him right across the face. Now he's getting in his car. Looks like he's leaving her in the parking lot. I had to admire the poetic justice of it. The affair that was supposed to liberate her from her boring, predictable husband had just cost her everything, including the boyfriend. That evening, I was home alone, cooking dinner and enjoying the peace when my doorbell rang. I looked through the ring monitor and saw Kendra standing on the porch with 2 large suitcases. I opened the door. "Can I help you?" "I live here, Brady." "Actually, you don't. Not anymore. The restraining order you filed this morning works both ways. You can't be within 500 feet of me or this property." "I never filed a restraining order." "Really? Then why did my lawyer receive a copy of your application this afternoon?" She looked confused. My lawyer said he was going to wait until tomorrow." "Well, he didn't wait, and neither did I. So now we both have restraining orders against each other, which means you need to leave." "Where am I supposed to go?" "I don't know. Maybe Shane's place." Her face crumpled. "Shane broke up with me. He said he didn't sign up for this kind of drama." "I'm sorry to hear that." "No, you're not. You're enjoying this." "You're right. I am enjoying this. You wanted to see what unpredictable looked like. Well, here it is. Brady, please, I made a mistake. I was confused and scared, and you decided to have an affair, planned to steal my assets, and filed false abuse charges. That's not confusion, Kendra. That's calculated betrayal." "This isn't over, Brady." "Yes, it is. You just don't know it yet." I closed the door and watched through the security monitor as she stood on my porch for 10 more minutes, crying and making phone calls. Finally, she loaded her suitcases back into her car and drove away. 6 months later, the divorce was final. Kendra got exactly what the prenup specified: nothing. The house was mine, the business was mine, the savings were mine. She had no claim to any of it. The girls had seen her twice for supervised visits, both of which ended early because she spent the entire time complaining about her living situation and asking them to convince me to give her more money. "She's not the same person," Riley told me after the second visit. "It's like she's turned into this bitter, angry stranger." "People sometimes become who they really are when they're under pressure," I replied. "Is that what happened to you? Did you become who you really are?" I thought about it. Maybe, or maybe I just stopped pretending to be someone I wasn't. "I like who you really are better." "Me too, kiddo, me too." A year later, I heard through Colin that Kendra and Shane had broken up again, this time for good. She was working as a receptionist at a dental office and living in a studio apartment. Paige and Haley had distanced themselves from her after she'd borrowed money from both of them and never paid it back. 2 years later, I married Brooke, a kind, intelligent nurse who thought my predictable nature was exactly what she'd been looking for. The girls loved her, and she loved them back. Kendra sent a card, congratulating me on my wedding. It was a small gesture, but it showed growth. She had also started seeing the girls occasionally, brief visits that gradually became longer, as she proved she could put their needs ahead of her own drama. As I danced with Brooke at our wedding reception, I caught sight of Riley and Quinn laughing with their friends. They were beautiful, confident young women who had learned early that actions have consequences and that integrity matters more than excitement. "You look happy," Brooke whispered in my ear. "I am happy, predictably happy." "Good. I like predictable. Even if it's boring, especially because it's reliable." I spun her around the dance floor, thinking about how different my life might have been if Kendra had never asked for that open marriage, if she'd never humiliated me at that BBQ, if she'd never triggered the prenup clause that cost her everything. But then I realized something. I wasn't sorry it happened. Not anymore, because her betrayal had forced me to become the man I was always meant to be. Not the pushover who tolerated disrespect, but the man who stood up for himself and his children. Her unpredictability had taught me the value of my own consistency. Her chaos had shown me the beauty of stability, and her selfishness had revealed my own strength. As the song ended and Brooke smiled up at me, I thought about Kendra's words from that long ago BBQ. "You're so predictable. That's why I'm bored." She'd been right about one thing. I was predictable, predictably loyal, predictably honest, predictably protective of the people I loved, and predictably, I'd won. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't defeating your enemy. It's discovering that what they saw as your weakness was actually your greatest strength. In a world obsessed with excitement and novelty, reliability becomes revolutionary. The very traits that make you boring to the wrong person make you invaluable to the right one.